If you don't insist on having them to yourself, I'll give you a hand.
Pleasure, friend.
You must be Jim Bowie. Well, excuse me.
Well, that movie, The Alamo, probably had one of the greatest array of stuntmen ever.
We had about 18 stuntmen, and I know that there's only about 2 or 3 of us that are left.
Now we're going to jump into another form of action, and that is with our hero, Dean Smith. You're doing a fall there, Dean, huh?
I wanted to wake up old Gary there.
Well, sir, before we start talking about some of the great stunts that you've done, especially I want to talk about your work with John Wayne. Why don't we plug your book?
All right. Well, my name is Dean Smith. I have a book out, and it's called From Olympic Gold to the Silver Screen. It's my life story from a boyhood all the way up to 82 years old, which I am right now. It's a very good book, and I think that you all will like it. It doesn't have a lot of cuss words in it, and it's just about the way I've lived my life. And it's something that Hollywood was founded on, which I think we should get back, which we don't have. I'm not much into foreign movies, but I'm into movies that are made in America. I'm a firm believer when they went off and started doing Westerns, they screwed them up. So let's get them back to the United States of America, Rob.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Anyway, I was raised up at a time when we taught kids the difference between right and wrong and doing the right things. We don't seem to have that here anymore. For some reason, they've lost the blueprint of that. And I'm a firm believer that we ought to get back to the good old days.
Well, let's talk about some of the good old days of Hollywood, where you were working with Batjack and John Wayne and doubling Maureen O'Hara. That's really what everybody wants to know about. How did the dress fit?
Well, now, I remember when Cliff Lyons called me to do McLINTOCK. He said he wanted me to double Strother Martin, and he said, yes, and I would like for you to double this leading actress, Maureen O'Hara, and she said, you need to go down to Max Factor down on Sunset and get those fittings.
And shave your legs.
And no.
He still shaves his legs. He's ready to work anytime.
But anyway, I went down there, and they give me these leotards, and they had me in this bustle, and I went and got that big red wig, and it hung down to here. And stuntmen, they just kidded me all over the place. It looked like I had walnuts in my socks. And so anyway, but I made more money on McLINTOCK than any of the other stuntmen. So you can't complain on that, you know.
It's still one of the great movies, and it's so very funny. Dean also won a gold medal in the Olympics, and I think you do some sprinting as Maureen O'Hara.
Yes, at the end of the picture when Duke told her to shut up or get out, and he took off with Chill Wills down there in that Baroque, and Maureen had to start chasing him down the street. And that was me on the back of the Baroque, you know, doing all this thing up and down. Anyway.
Now, when you were doing the Olympics, you didn't have to wear a hoop skirt, did
No,
you?
I didn't do anything like that.
Okay.
You know, when you run against them Russians, you don't wear dresses. But Rob, have been very fortunate to have had the career in the movies. When I left Texas and got out of the university, I knew that I wanted to be like Roy and Gene and all those guys. And they thought, well, here, you got a college degree and you could go into any other business. But I came to Hollywood and was a stuntman for the last 55 years, and I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't have done it any other way. And I just think that more young people nowadays, when they have a direction to go, if they're not hurting anybody, they ought to go in the direction they want to go in. And sometimes you do things you don't want, you know. And I was that way.
How did you first hook up with John Wayne? Because you did 7 or 8 movies with him.
Well, I was very fortunate. You know, in 1952, I was on the Olympic team with Bob Mathias from Tulare, California. And at that time, Bob was under contract to Duke. And so when I came out here, Jim Garner got me in pictures, Jim Bumgarner. That's how I got my start. And once I got in the unions, then I went over to see Duke I wanted to go in that movie, The Alamo. So I go over and get acquainted with Bob Morrison and Michael Wayne and Patrick and all of them, and got on that movie, The Alamo.
Well, thanks, friend. If you don't insist on having them to yourself, I'll give you a hand.
Pleasure, friend.
You must be Jim Boy. Well, excuse me.
Well, that movie, The Alamo, probably had one of the greatest array of stuntmen ever.
We had about 18 stuntmen, and I know that there's only about 2 or 3 of us that are left. And I understand, I talked to Bill Hart yesterday, and he's not doing too well. I think Joe Canut's still living, and maybe Ted White.
Ted's still. Yeah.
Who?
Ted's still around.
Yeah, okay. Who's that? Joe just died? Well, and Tap is gone too? Well, I just didn't know that. Well, I guess me and Ted White and we're the only ones left, you know.
The Alamo, filling the giant theater screen with spectacular adventure, filmed on a scale unequaled in motion picture history, recreating the 13 glorious days of the siege history will never forget. And you will always remember the Alamo.
In the great race you were talking about, I was in that picture. It was the biggest fight that I've ever seen. And I think, Chuck, were you in the, yeah, he was at Chuck Hicks.
4 of us left out of 57.
4 out of 57 people, you know. So time's a-wasting.
Yeah, that's right. Well, everybody should pick up a copy of Dean's book while he's here to sign it. It's a terrific read, and it makes you want to go back and watch all of these wonderful movies that he helped make so great.
One of the things I'm proud of the most is back before they built this museum here, Jackie Artry called me and asked me if I would go out to Westlake and critique this statue out here of Gene. And I went out there 2 or 3 times a week for about 2 months. And I'm very pleased to have my name on that statue. But anyway, I told him Trigger was about 30 then. I said, we need to put a little bit more steel on this horse here. So
to turn him into champion.
It's my fault because he looks good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And John Wayne, who gave you 2 of the classic westerns of all time, Red River and Rio Bravo. Now add Robert Mitchum to the combination in El Dorado, the story of 2 close friends who didn't need any enemies to start a war.
What the hell are you doing here? I'm looking at a tin star with a drunk pinned on it.
Help me up out of here, Cole.
Wayne and Mitchum. A pair of bull-headed battlers who lock horns and then join forces against the best guns in the West.
We're gonna shake them up a little. You keep them occupied while we move in. Ready?
Let's make some music.
And And with them, Charlene Holt as Maudie, a fine figure of a woman who stretches friendship to the breaking point.
I thought you'd forgotten all about me. I thought that...
You know something, Cole? I think we better get ourselves a new girl.
Yeah.
You better not.
Why not?
I'm girl enough for both of you.
A new young star, James Caan as Mississippi, who tries to take on the gunslingers with a knife. Plus a little help. Michelle Carey as Joey, part girl, part wildcat.
Just hold still now, miss. Hold still. You're gonna lose your clothes. You keep that.
I reckon you won't shoot any more little boys, mister.
Arthur Honeycutt as Bull, an old reprobate who blows a loud horn and draws a long bow.
Well, what are you gonna do now?
We've got 2 cripples, a green kid, and a noisy old...
Indian fighter.
Indian fighter. Now, how in the hell do I know what I'm gonna do?
A beat-up band of misfits with nothing to lose but their lives.
There's a little question unanswered between us.
Which one of us is best?
That's right.